Good morning, my listener and my students. You're welcome to this online lesson. Remember the last time when we met, we started with the elements of drama. In our last two lessons, we've been able to present and explain certain elements of drama, certain features of drama. Now, today, I expected that we would continue from where we stopped, or by now that we would get into analyzing some texts, maybe some drama works. But then there will be a break. I would want us to take something different. So one of you asked me a question, and the question the person asked is a very important question. This person asked about the reason why literature is the most failed subject in WAEC. And from the way this person sounded, there was this indication that this person is afraid. And there are so many other persons that are scared of literature. There are so many other persons that are afraid because of the fact that we've heard it said time and time again that literature is the most failed subject. And the moment a person says that he or she has registered for WAEC or NECO and that the person will be writing literature, somebody closest to you might tell you that that literature, you just have to pray about it. Now, this has made a lot of students afraid of literature. What are the problems? What are the reasons why people fail literature? That was the question that I was asked. And for that reason, I decided to take a topic. I termed the topic Demystifying Literature. Remember, the reason for this is to let you know of those things that make it a kind of challenging to pass literature. I termed it Demystifying Literature. And for the specific objectives, it should just be one. I expect that by the end of our discussion today, you can face any literature examination without fear. By the end of our discussion today, you should be able to answer questions from literature without fear. That is just what I intend to achieve with this lesson. Now, what do we mean by this? Demystifying literature. Demystifying. This verb, to demystify something, means to take away the things that are confusing, to take away the complicated nature of something, to make something clearer, to make something more understandable. Now, I want to demystify literature in this particular class. Now, when you want to perform well, when you want to do well in any literature exam, there are little things that you are expected to have in mind. There are little things you are expected to do. These things are things that are easy. These are things that you can decide within yourself, that you will take the step, and you find out that literature is one of the easiest subjects that you can pass. You can do well in literature. Now, the first one, in demystifying literature, when you want to perform well in literature, take note of these things. Number one, you should have adequate knowledge. Have adequate knowledge of literary terms. Every subject has their terms. Every subject has their terminologies. There are words that you hear. You will know that there is a word you hear, you know without being told that this word is coming from biology. There is a word you hear, you know that this word is coming from chemistry. The same way, literature has its terms. You should have adequate knowledge of literary terms. Know those terms that are peculiar to literature, those terms that are associated to literature. It is very important. And how do you do this? Get a literary textbook. Get a textbook that treats literature. Try to get knowledge of these terms. Try to acquaint yourself with those words that are associated with literature. That is what I mean by this. Adequate knowledge of literary terms. You can do it. This is not something difficult. Get a literature textbook. Read up. Know those terms. Your imagery. What do we mean by figures of speech? What do we mean by themes? What do we mean by plot? What and the rest of them? All these are literary terms. Master them. Get to know about all of them. After that, the next one is that you should have adequate knowledge of the texts and works involved. What what you don't know, you don't know it. There are no two ways about it. If you want to perform well in literature, there is the need that you should have adequate knowledge of the texts, the words that are involved in the exam that you're about to write. You don't expect that you walk into the examination hall without any preparation as regards the text, without any knowledge. It's just like somebody coming to ask you, have you seen a movie like this? And you say no, you have not seen that movie. And the person begins to ask you a question. What happened to this person? What happened to this person in that movie? You cannot answer it because you do not have knowledge of the occurrences in that movie. That is the same way that if you do not have the knowledge, if you do not have adequate knowledge of the texts that are involved, you cannot perform magic in the examination hall. Therefore, it is very necessary that you acquaint yourself, get knowledge, try to read up these works. For your level, during your work, you're expected to meet questions from Faceless, questions from Native Son, from Harvest of Corruption, from Blood of a Stranger, from Lonely Days, from She Stoops to Conquer, and the rest of them. How are you knowledgeable with those things? Try to go to them, read them, know everything that happened in them. You can do this. When you have got knowledge of these texts and works that you will be facing in your exam, you are a step closer to success in literature. After that, what next? There is this third one. It says good interpretation of questions asked. Sometimes the problems we have, you might have adequate knowledge of literary terms, and you would have adequate knowledge of the texts involved. But then your problem is that you have poor interpretation of the questions. The third one here says good interpretation of the questions asked. Before you jump into answering any question in literature, try to understand what that question, what the examiner wants from you. Some questions in literature, they are confusing. If you do not give them thoughts, if you do not pause and think deeply about the questions, you will find out that you'll be answering something different from what you are expected to answer. This is why it is necessary. You don't rush. Take your time. Understand, interpret the questions you are asked very well. Understand what that question is talking about. Now, the third one says that, the third one requires that you should have good interpretation of questions asked. You will find out that it is possible that somebody has adequate knowledge of literary terms. This same person has adequate knowledge of the text. The person read the books, read the poems, and everything. But then the problem that the person begins to have is interpretation. When you have adequate knowledge in these things, they are not enough. It is also necessary that you interpret the questions you are asked. Understand what is expected of you. When you are asked a question in literature, do not just rush into it to answer. Try to pause and understand what is expected of me in this question. What exactly does the examiner expect me to say here? What is this question all about? This is what we may always say, that you need good interpretation of the questions asked. Somebody might be asking you about how I am in Native Son now. Somebody might tell you something like that Bigger in Native Son. Bigger kills Mary Doughton. Bigger kills his girlfriend and attacks a policeman. And an examiner still tells you that Bigger is innocent despite having committed these crimes. Discuss. You don't just rush into this. You have to pause and understand. Bigger murdered 3 persons, 2 or 3 persons. And an examiner is still telling you that you should discuss how Bigger is innocent despite those crimes he committed. You have to understand what this question is expecting from you. What does this question mean? Before you can rush into it. Questions in literature are not questions that you just jump into. You have to think, you have to reason and understand. Give a good interpretation to the questions and you find out that you are stepping closer to success. Now, the next one, I am going to come back here, but let us jump to the 5th one now. You should have good knowledge of Concord this time around it is English language. You should have good knowledge of Concord. Know the rules of Concord. Know your pronouns. Know your punctuation symbols. All these things matter. Somebody might tell you that you might be thinking that this is literature. Therefore, what is the need of them considering Concord pronouns and this? But it is needed. It is necessary. When you do not make use of your punctuation symbols properly, you are penalized for it. The same way it is in English, that is how it is in literature. When you do not make proper use of the punctuation symbols, when you do not adhere to the rules of Concord, when you do not know your pronouns, you'll be penalized. Therefore, it is necessary that you know these things. Get a book that treats these things, read them, master them. And when you have got adequate knowledge of this, you have adequate knowledge of the text, and you have interpreted the questions very well, in the course of answering the question, you will be able to make good use of both the Concord, the pronouns, and the punctuation symbols. Alright, after that, the next one now, the one I skipped, adherence to the rubrics. This is where we have serious problems in literature. Adherence to the rubrics. What are rubrics? When we mention rubrics, we mean the rules, the standards that are set for something. Literature has rules, and when you violate these rules, you will be penalized. This is one of the reasons the candidates fail literature during exams. When you do not adhere to the rules, and the rules are what you have here, the rules. When you are answering literature questions, it is expected of you to cite texts. Mention the texts that are attached to it. Mention the texts that are involved. If you're answering something about imagery, there is the need that you cite some text, some literary works, where you are explaining things. Alright, now try to make use of literary terms, just like what you have here. You have adequate knowledge of literary terms, and then try to make use of them. So that the person who is going through your work will know that this person is knowledgeable, that this person is familiar with literature. Alright, after that, remember, there is a rule in literature that says that whenever you mention the title of a book, you must underline it. If you do not do that, you are penalized. Whenever you mention the title of a book in literature, wherever it is, as long as you are answering a question that has to do with literature, and you have the need to mention a book, you must underline it. When you mention faceless, that is why you find out that here, all these things are underlined. This is the title of a book. I underlined it. This is faceless. This is She Stoops to Conquer. Whenever you mention the title of a book in literature, try to underline it. It is a rule. No matter how your handwriting looks, underline it. And when you mention the title of a poem, you put it in quotes. Whenever you mention the title of a poem, put it in quotes. It is a rule. Remember, we are saying that you should adhere to the rubrics. Adhere to the rubrics. And then, all these things are important, but I skipped one. The tense to be used. It is among the rubrics. What tense?